Hi there, I'm Oliver Ricketts.
And I'm Adam Noyes.
And we're both the production crew, essentially, for the Video Guys Live Newsday Tuesday webinar. And since Gary is out of town this week, we thought this would be a really great chance to give you guys something a little different. This webinar is going to be all tips and tricks that you can use to get started on your live production and not break the bank.
So yeah, we'll be talking about, C-stands, what type of lights to get, what type of computers to look into, investments in terms of storage, and even just simple do-it-yourself tricks for any beginners to just get their foot into the door.
So right off the bat, the first thing people want to know is how do I make my stream look engaging, especially if I don't have a lot of money? And the simple answer to that is, if you make your stream and your physical set look professional, it will be a better stream. When something looks clean, you're gonna be more engaged in it. So this goes for film sets, this goes for streaming sets, this goes for the webinar that we do every week. You'll notice the set that we use is a very clean set. So even though we have this nice background over here, this virtual set from New Tech, there's no reason that having a professional setup needs to be expensive. So if your subject is just a person talking, have it be just the person talking. By the same note, if you do a product show like we do, the most important thing is that the only stuff on the table is stuff that is relevant to what you're talking about. You want to create an atmosphere that looks like you put some effort into what you're doing. When Gary does his show every week, you'll notice that the only things on screen are Gary, the table, the laptop that we use as our teleprompter so that you guys can see the graphics behind it, and if there's product, they're consolidated to one side of the table. The cheapest way to step up your production quality is to keep things simple and professional. One really important thing when you have a live streaming set is organization. Again, this is everything. Because not only does it affect how seriously your crew takes things, but it also plays into your time management. And anybody who does production, does live streaming, does film, knows that time management is everything. And especially in a live streaming world where everything matters immediately, you need to know how to manage your time best and that everything is going to work when it's supposed to. So if you have a set with a lot of the same elements, let's take remote controls, for example. Several times on the Video Guys Newsday Tuesday webinar, we've had multiple PTZ cameras out on the table. And the thing about PTZ cameras is a lot of them use remote controls. And the issue with that is that it's easy when you're doing a live production and you need one camera to move to grab the wrong remote control, especially when I have them all sitting out on my desk. So a good simple tip to do right off the bat is to label all of your remote controls. This also goes for your batteries as well if you're working with cameras outside, for your cables, if you have a lot of cables that look exactly the same. Everything should be labeled with what it is and what it goes to. A lot of your smaller black parts, such as lens caps especially, if it's not important to the camera, you can change that color. I've met people who like to spray paint all their lens caps orange or color code their lens caps. And why you would do that is if you're working with a camera with multiple lenses, again, this plays into organization. If I open my bag and I see 10 black lenses with the same lens cap, I'm not gonna know what's what. But when they're color coded correctly, it's a little bit of a different story. Again, one of the most important things in live production and in film is the ability to move quickly. So when I see color-coded lens caps that I can just grab the correct lens because I know I'm looking for red, that's gonna save me so much time. All right, let's get into some lighting. One important thing about lighting is weighting your lights. If you're especially doing a shoot outside, if you're not getting weights to put on them, things to tie down, is sandbags. A quick, easy setup will keep the lights in place where you want them to be, and it's super cheap and affordable.
For lighting, it is actually surprisingly cheap. If you're, more into this stuff, or if you're looking to go extremely professional, you have all of your high-end lights that you can get, specifically your LEDs and stuff like that, that don't throw off any heat, and you can dim them You have total control over everything. But if you're just starting off like what I did, you can simply just buy some regular lights at your Walmart or Home Depot. I'd actually recommend getting 3. That way you can get 3-point lighting. You have your fill, that's one light. You have your spot, which is your second light, and then you have your backlight, which is always important to separate you from your background, and that is your third light. A warning, sometimes those lights, the cheaper you go, the harder they usually are. And what I mean by hard lighting is your shadows are really, really, really hard, and they can also, quite frankly, make you look ugly. They tend to pull out wrinkles, they tend to pull out flaws within faces. So like if you're doing a glamour shot of something, you definitely want book lighting, a sort of soft, glamorous looking light. And one way you can actually do that for cheap is just buy some white lemon-scented garbage bags from your local Walmart. In fact, that's what I do frequently. And you can roll them up, you can fold them, you can to diffuse the light any way you need it. What you can use to actually establish your lighting and to set it up is actually simply using regular PVC pipe that you can find at your Home Depot. I actually recommend using a 3/4 inch PVC pipe if you're just starting out, because that way it's small that you can, move it around really quick and easily, but yet it's large enough that it's stable and will stay there. I would recommend buying them in 10-foot lengths. That way you can cut them down later. We'll get into some of the dimensions shortly. Before cutting, I'd actually recommend you spray paint your PVC pipe black. Usually PVC pipes are white, and that'll often lead to reflections or light bouncing off of that, which can create glare, stuff that you don't really want when shooting in front of a green screen or in front of really anything. Because the number one rule you actually want when lighting your set is you want control. And what black does is it keeps any light from bouncing off of it whatsoever. After painting your PVC pipe, you want to cut it into pieces. You're going to want 5 2-foot lengths and 6 1-foot lengths.
I'll go into talking about confidence monitors. Number one, I think it's very important to have one, because a lot of people who stream are shooting a one-man show. A lot of people want to be able to get in front of the camera by themselves, and even if you do have a crew, it's good for the talent to know what they're putting out there and what it looks like. So a confidence monitor is key. We use an Atomos monitor, and it's completely WYSIWYG. It's actually a really great piece of technology, but realistically, it may not be affordable when you're first starting out. This being said, this monitor is on the affordable side for what you're getting, and you can definitely check it out. It will always give you a reliable picture, and it has not failed us once. A lot of times, cheap monitors are not the best, and sometimes they don't have the accurate aspect ratio or accurate color balancing. Good thing to fix it with is to find out how much of that picture you're getting and physically cover it with black construction paper. There's no problem doing this. Again, the most important thing is the picture that you can see on the monitor. So if your aspect ratio is unreliable, cover it up and get something closer to what you're actually going to see when you're recording. Now, when we talk about professionalism on your set, a lot of people think that a do-it-yourself hack is an excuse not to have it. And that's simply not true. The more professional that your gear and your setup is going to look, the better people are going to respond to you as the head of the production. Now, this isn't to say that you can't do a trick like have Home Depot lights or use duct tape to secure something, but what it does mean is that every time you implement a do-it-yourself trick, you need to make it look as professional and purposeful as you can. Because the response from your crew is your first audience response. Let's take this mounting that we have on the ceiling right now for an example. We have a PTZ Optic Z-Cam mounted to the ceiling. You'll see it a lot of times on the show when we record item on the table. This gives us a nice aerial view. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it is a do-it-yourself setup to a T. We actually have an old boom pole up on the ceiling, and some of the rigging is secured through duct tape, because duct tape can solve any problem. But what you will notice is that The rigging is all very professional looking, it's clean, it's out of the way, and we've made sure that the cables are not going down into the talent's face or hanging off of the boom pole. Again, if you don't point this out, nobody would ever notice. And it gets the job done in a way that makes up for the do-it-yourself nature of the trick. Any good audio studio will have something on the walls to absorb the echo. This is when you see those foam tiles on the sides of recording studios, things like that. And the thing about those foam tiles is they're very easy to make, and you don't have to break the bank with it. We actually use very simple tiles to absorb the echo. They're made with PVC piping, foam, and bed sheets that you can get anywhere, Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart. Ours have superheroes on them. Again, this plays into, you don't need to break the bank to do something professional that's going to give you good quality. Best advice for somebody who doesn't have a professional mic setup, which again is understandable, is cut out as much background sound as you can. There's no shame in going in and editing your audio afterwards. There's lots of freeware. Audacity's a great one where you can cut out noise from a project before you put it anywhere. Music is important as well, because subconsciously you associate a production with more elements with being more professional. The problem is copyrights, especially for things like YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. If you're using music that is not yours, you're gonna get taken down. You're gonna get a copyright strike. You don't want that. YouTube Creator Studio offers you an entire library. It's over 1,000 songs just for putting content on YouTube. We use it here, and I've been using it this entire webinar. Off the top of my head, some other websites to go to are bensound.com, freesound.com, but there are so many different royalty-free websites that will give you music just for visiting their page that you can use in your productions if you simply credit them.
We use Photoshop, which gives us a plethora of options to manipulate our images to the way that we want them, or simply to even just make the lower thirds on our videos. We always use Photoshop. But this can be quite expensive and actually quite daunting if you're just starting out. I mean, Photoshop is a very, very powerful program. A great alternative to Photoshop, if you're on a budget or if you're just beginning, is actually GIMP. It's free, and while definitely not as comprehensive or as in-depth as Photoshop, it's still quite a great program to really teach you the basics of what it is in photo and to manipulate photos and to edit photos, while also making them look good enough that you can use them in your live productions, in your videos, or anything for lower thirds, or even color correcting that background image you want to have in back, and so on and so forth. And for the record, I use GIMP. Outside of Videoguys, I'm cheap. GIMP is what I use to make all of my lower thirds for all the videos that I do for other companies and stuff like that. One thing that I really highly recommend when it comes to storage is save everything. I mean literally everything that you do, because you never know, in the future you might want to pull something up or you might need to go back to it. Save everything. Save yourself the hassle of losing it. Also, expect to be using terabytes worth of memory, and definitely prepare for that. Prepare for that. Don't be surprised if suddenly you go through a terabyte in no time at all. That's not surprising, especially in today's world of shooting in 4K and 4K RAW, 8K, 16K now is coming out. One way to really keep on top of that is actually investing. You want to save up for this. Do not be cheap on this. Make sure you have fast drives and fast SD cards like the Pro Grade. Don't skip this. I can't say that enough. It is so important. Don't be cheap. Don't skip this out. This is one of the most important aspects of doing live production or video production and post-production in general. If you are cheap and just buy some of the standard 1 terabyte drives online, you will regret it. And you'll actually be spending more money in the long run. Invest in something like the 2 Big Grade Studio RAID, the G-Speed Shuttle XL Thunderbolt 3, and we've got loads of those on Videoguys.com. You can there's many options for you to choose from to make sure that you're getting exactly what you want. There's loads of options. One way to actually help out on storage is knowing how and what to format. For example, what we use here at Videoguys is actually the H.264 file format, which basically compresses your video while still maintaining really great video quality. For example, if we're just shooting something and it's 40 gigabytes, if we were to render that out in an H.264, it'd be less than a third of the space, and yet little of the quality has changed. Very little, actually minuscule. We now do this with literally everything we do, from our unedited webinars to our product spotlights to our clips that we pull up on YouTube and Facebook or even on Vimeo. We all render those out in H.264, and that saves us a buttload of space when saving that into storage. H.264 is also extremely good for streaming platforms such as YouTube or Vimeo or even Facebook now. As for the computer itself, don't be cheap on that. Don't just buy something generic from Walmart or Best Buy or anything like that. No. You're going to want a good computer because that's literally what you'll be doing most of your work on. You'll need it to be a good computer. You want it to do what you want it to do. You don't want it to freeze. You don't want it to crash. You need it to be able to process everything that you're doing, be it the actual live production itself using OBS or Wirecast or anything like that, or just the post-production aspects using Premiere, Avid, Vegas, all of those video editing programs, or even Photoshop. You'll need a good computer to be able to handle those. You'll want something fast to handle that workload. A high RAM, you'll want a high-powered CPU, a good graphics card so you can be able to actually see what you're doing. Maybe even a calibrated colored monitor, just so you know that the colors that you're getting are the colors that people are going to be seeing on their regular monitors. What you see is what you get. But most importantly, when building a computer or making a computer that can handle all this stuff, is you want to focus on your GPU. Look for a good GPU. I'm going to say it one more time, a good GPU. Now, what is a GPU? Because most people know what CPUs are and RAM and so on and so forth. The GPU often gets overlooked. Don't. A GPU renders animations, images, and videos for the computer. And if you need help, us here at Videoguys, we have a couple of options here that you could use just to handle editing. Computers built just to handle that workload. We have a couple right here at Videoguys.com, so you can go over there and just check it out, see what you're looking for.
And welcome back. Thanks everybody for watching that. I know that's a little bit different than what you're normally expecting, but I hope that the information was both useful to getting started, but also that you can take that and build. Because the point of a do-it-yourself trick is not so much that you want to substitute forever a professional filmmaking setting, but it's to get your foot in the door. And ultimately your goal should be to work towards higher class gear, upping your production level, upping the class of your production. And that's really where do-it-yourself tricks come into play, because anybody can make film and do streaming and do video. And once you get started, then it's time to build. So thanks for watching that do-it-yourself tips, tricks, and hacks webinar. Let's get into what we're doing in the coming week. So next week, Gary Batan will be back in the studio, and he will be joined by Avid's own Kate Ketchum. She's going to be taking us through everything you need to know about the new Avid Media Composer 2019. That's a really anticipated release, and we have all the information you need to learn the new NLE. Following week, on July 16th, we have new live view bundles. We can't really tell you anything else other than that they're new bundles. Tune in to find out. That's again July 16th. And the week after that, we're going to have a great show all about outdoor streaming solutions. So you know what to do in a live studio setting, a controlled environment, but let's take it outside of the studio, outside of the workplace. How do you do live streaming outside? So again, definitely tune in for all of that on our Facebook. Find Video Guys on Facebook, Video Guys on YouTube, or just check us out at videoguys.com or find the webinar every week at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at videoguys.com/live. Again, I'm Oliver Ricketts. This has been the Video Guys Newsday Tuesday live webinar. Thanks for watching. Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.